Get out of our hospitals. Go back to your country. Fix your own nation first. These are not words from Europeans. These are not words from Americans. Not even coming from the Chinese. These are Africans speaking to their fellow Africans. In the streets of South Africa, anger is rising again. Foreign Africans, especially Nigerians and Ghanaians, are increasingly becoming targets of humiliation, resentment, and xenophobic attacks. But beneath the outrage lies a painful question many refuse to ask. Why are so many Africans running away from their own countries in the first place? Why are citizens of giant nations with massive resources now begging for survival in foreign African lands? And perhaps the most painful question of all, did African leaders fail their own people so badly that their citizens become refugees of hopelessness across the continent? Africa was supposed to rise together. Countries like Nigeria and Ghana once inspired hope across the continent. Nigeria, Africa's giant. Ghana, West Africa's democratic pride. But today, millions of their citizens are fleeing economic hardship, unemployment, collapsing systems, corruption, and political failure. And in South Africa, frustration is exploding. Not because Africans hate Africans, no, but because failed leadership has exported desperation across borders. There was a time Nigerians traveled abroad with pride. There was a time Ghana was celebrated as a beacon of African possibility. These nations had everything. They had oil, gold, cocoa, brilliant minds, young populations, rich culture, strategic influence. Yet, somehow, the citizens now leave home, not for luxury, but for survival. Yes, survival. Graduates drive motorcycles, engineers become street hawkers, nurses flee hospitals with broken systems. Young people risk death crossing deserts and oceans, not because Africa lacks wealth, but because leadership failed to convert resources into human dignity. South Africa itself is battling deep wounds, massive unemployment, crime, poverty, inequality. Many South Africans feel abandoned by their own government. And when foreign Africans compete for jobs, businesses, housing and healthcare, anger erupts. But anger becomes dangerous when it transforms into xenophobia. When hospitals become battlegrounds, when African accents become targets, when fellow blacks are treated like invaders, the tragedy is heartbreaking. Victims of failed African leadership are now fighting over victims of failed African leadership. The real enemy is not the poor Nigerian trader. The real enemy is not the Ghanaian nurse. The struggling South African youth. The real enemy is decades of corruption, decades of bad governance, greed, tribal politics, weak institutions, and leaders who built empires for themselves while their citizens drown in hopelessness. Across Africa, leaders fly private jets while hospitals collapse. Politicians build mansions while universities decay. Governments borrow billions while youth remain unemployed. And when citizens finally escape suffering, they are insulted for escaping it. This is bigger than South Africa. It is the story of a continent bleeding internally. African borders are becoming emotional scars. Instead of unity, suspicion grows. Instead of solidarity, blame breeds. The Africa dream is collapsing under the weight of leadership failure because no citizen willingly abandons a functioning country. People leave when hope dies.